couple of weeks ago, in the middle of March, I walked outside and I looked at my neighbor's yard, and what did I see? Cherry blossoms blooming. And that's about a month early. It's not my imagination, and it shouldn't be yours. If spring is coming earlier, the summers are getting hotter, and there's less snow in winter. This is the impact of climate change. It is an issue that has been brewing for a generation or more, and the issue is here now. We are rapidly approaching an inflection point of where we may not be able to reverse the impact of all the burning of fossil fuels in the mismanagement of the environment. And I don't want to be a doomsayer and say that I believe that things are irreversible. But I'm also not naive enough to say that this is just part of a natural climate cycle that has happened over the course of eons. We humans do have an impact on the environment and the world around us. And so that's why a number of companies have taken responsibility and started sustainability programs. They are doing things on their own, not being mandated by the government, to help contribute to the reversing or the taming of climate change. They're making their products and packaging more environmentally friendly. They're reducing their carbon footprint. They're making their operations more energy efficient. And all of this is with the aim of trying to contribute to making the environment better, to making the world a better place. And it's permeating down into the channel too. A number of vendors have initiated sustainability programs where they support their partners with resources and training and support to help them do sustainability programs. And yes, there is an economic benefit that comes from this because there are customers out there that care about this as well, and they will only source from companies that have sustainability programs that are doing something to contribute to reversing the change. And so I thought we'd take a few minutes on this edition of Changing Channels to talk about what that means in the channel. And one company stands out for this, and that's HP. And HP was among the first to pick up the mantle of sustainability, and they launched, specifically among the first to launch, a formal channel program. It's called HP Amplify Impact. It's an attachment to their Amplify reseller program, and with the aim of helping partners be more sustainable. So I invited Mary Beth Walker. She is the head of global channel strategy at HP, and she's also the champion of HP Amplify Impact. And she has a passion for sustainability. She is the perfect person to come and bring us the insights on what this all means. I'm Larry Walsh. This is Changing Channels. Let's get into it. Mary Beth Walker, welcome to Changing Channels.
Hi, it's great to be here. Thanks.
It's been a couple of years since we've had you on. It's good to have you back. Um, Last time we had you, we were talking about, the development of channel programs, but now there's something that you've done that's been really interesting. You've spearheaded HP's Amplify Impact program for sustainability. I really want to dive into that, but before we do, I mean, you are more than just heading up a sustainability program for the channel. You're actually really passionate about this, and this is one of the things you and I've had conversations about this over the past couple of years. You actually see this as not just a corporate initiative, but a worldly cause. Where did you get this
Mm.
passion for sustainability from?
Actually, probably when I was really, really young, and I'm probably dating myself, Larry, but I remember the commercial with the Indian with the tear in his eye.
Yep,
Remember some of
yep.
you out there, when somebody threw trash out their, window. And I would say some of it is, and I'm going with the environment piece right now. Um, I think about my grandkids. And I want the world to be a good place for them. And it really scares me what I see because, you hear people talk about you need to treat your body like a temple. Like we need to treat the world like a temple. And we so aren't, and the things that we see people doing that we know are going to have a really bad impact on the environment. Like if nobody does anything, it's not going to change. And so I'm going to try and get as many people involved in trying to help make that change as possible.
Yeah, it is admirable. I mean, this is what I when I talk with people about sustainability and climate change, and they you hear people push back on it and say, what difference are we going to make? Or this is just the natural cycles of the earth. I was like, so what's the problem here? And I said, well, how do you argue against clean air and drinkable water? And he's like, aren't these just good things, right? So I completely agree with you. But this is where HP put its money where its mouth is and created Amplify Impact, which is an offshoot or a part of the HP Amplify partner program. Tell us a little bit about the genesis of this. Why did you attach this to a partner program?
So a few years ago, when we were building Amplify, it was right when sustainability was starting to become more and more important from a business perspective, but a lot of people still weren't seeing the value in it. And we came out, very forthrightly saying by 2030, we want to be the most just and sustainable technology company in the world. And so I got to thinking, okay, if we're going to do this, we need to be able to demonstrate that our partners are doing this too. And so, how are we going to accomplish this? Knowing that, some of our bigger partners, they'll go take this on, they'll know what to do, they'll move forward. But for the small partners, they don't have the money to invest that we did in training and in initiatives and things like that. So it's like, hey, why wouldn't we share what we're doing with them? And by doing that, try to help them bring along their own sustainability strategy for their company, and hopefully over time help them build up the importance and to see that it's not just a business imperative. And so that's really what the genesis of it was.
That's fantastic, and I think that the operative word there is that it's voluntary. It's not something that you've made a requirement to be
Yeah,
part of the program,
um,
right?
go Yeah, so it totally is voluntary. And originally we said it was going to be voluntary till 2025. And now we're trying to figure out what we'll do in 2025. We'll probably get to that in a little bit. But we don't want anybody to feel like they have to do something. But we want to know that it's important to us. And by just creating and investing in the program, I think that we've demonstrated some of that, but also that it's important to us that they start to, be able to work on this part of their business.
I like that though, but even though it's voluntary, how
Hmm.
do you get them? What's the incentive for them to participate? Again, I'm not going to argue against my clean air comments earlier, but when you talk with the partners about this, what is the imperative that they look at to say, yes, we want to buy in?
They want to buy in because a lot of them don't know where to start or what to do without help. Okay. So what we've done is we've actually created a playbook for a partner, starting with how to go have a conversation with your leadership or your board about why you need to do something and how to prepare for that and the kinds of things that you need to be able to bring to that meeting, all the way through to if you decide you want to do a volunteer activity, here's 5 activities you can do and how to organize them and everything in between. So if they want to know what kind of goals to set, we give them examples on that. If they want to know how to measure things, if they want to know how to do carbon footprint, all of those kinds of things, we have all of it in an asset hub that we make available to them. And so we made it easier for them. It's not easy, but we made it easier for them for sure by doing that. And people started to realize I don't have to start at the beginning. HP is actually going to help me get there.
Yeah. I like the idea. And I think for anybody who hasn't seen what HP is doing, HP has gotten wide recognition for its initiatives in sustainability through Amplify Impact. It's won awards for what it's doing, not just on a corporate level, but on the channel level as well. Um, but I you can't help but take the contrarian view for a moment and say, well, if it's not going to benefit my business, if it's not going to accrete more revenue or more profitability, if I can't have that level of return on investment attribution, why am I doing it? What's the benefit to the partner, and consequently, what's the benefit to HP for doing this?
So, one of the beautiful things about it is that we collect tons of data. from the partners that agree to be in the program. And so we have almost 4 years of data now on like what's their experience. And what we found just recently, so within like the last 3 months, we did a survey, and 69% of the partners that are in the program said that they've increased their RFP win rate for sustainability deals in the last 12 months, and they attribute it to what they're able to do based on Amplify Impact. And 48% said that they've acquired new customers in the last 12 months that they don't think they would have gotten if we hadn't been able to give them assets and things that they can use to actually help them in selling. So we now have, a lot of data to support there is a business impact. There is going to be positive outcomes for this. And, before it was like just you just kind of got to believe us. And now it's like, here's the data to show it. And we just collect more and more to be able to really understand what the impact of what we're doing is and make sure that it has the value that we want it to.
Yeah. So when we talk about channel programs, though, it often gets couched into a series of incentives. If you want partners to do something, you have to pay them something, or you have to give them a reason for doing it. And we've had some vendors come to us at Channelnomics and say, "Well, what's the best practice for incenting partners? What should we be paying them for doing sustainability?" Amplify doesn't do that. Amplify Impact doesn't do that. Amplify the the program itself is a series of gives to gets, and Shellnomics was worked closely with HP in the development of that program. But Impact really doesn't have that. Is that attribution to new wins to satisfying the customer's expectations? Is that enough to draw in to provide the incentive for participation?
So great question, and we're evaluating that right now. I don't know what your, experience has been with other vendors, but I think a lot of us are evaluating what we're going to do going forward. I know one of our competitors actually started paying on sustainability deals. Not sure how they define them. That's one of the things that we're trying to really, figure out is how do you actually put um, a label on what's a sustainability deal versus anything else. And what I've seen from that competitor is that they did right pocket, left pocket. They just took money from a different incentive and said, now we're going to pay you on this. And so I don't know what we buy from that. I think that we're looking at is there a way to actually connect it to specific deals that we know are very specific to whatever we decide that definition of a sustainability deal is, and that if we can and we can show the results, then we should be able to look at how we can put in more money towards that, or maybe it's additional MDF, or maybe it's other benefits. So we're looking at that right now and trying to decide what we're going to do, because in 2025 we will look to make a change from it being voluntary, and there's a lot of options.
The numbers sound good, and I can make the case for all of this, but there are others out there that would say that, well, what impact could a partner actually have in sustainability? You're the one who controls the supply chain. You're the one who controls the packaging. You're the one who controls the materials in the product. Uh, and to be fair, HP has done a lot to change its footprint in terms of packaging in the way it fulfills orders. But what can partners do? Can you give us a couple of examples of what a successful sustainability partner looks like?
Yeah, sure. So, one great partner in Greater Asia, ICT Zone, and they're really committed to driving their organization's sustainability goals and evolving to meet their customer needs. But they were one of the partners who said, we don't know where to start. So we actually helped them to create the plan, the strategy. We made people available to them to help them put that together. And through that, they were able to start to get more support within their company and interest for being able to do things around sustainability. And their journey was very, very successful, I think, related to that. They are what we call a 4-star partner, which means they've put a huge amount of their staff through our sustainability training, and that they're using the assets that we make available to them to be able to sell. And they've said that they had the highest value of sustainability influence deals in 2023 that they've ever had. And they just say that they don't really know how they would have gone about it if we hadn't helped them start. So, that's just one example. There's another company, Atea in Nordics. And as you know, that's a part of the world that's really serious about this. And they're a pretty big company. They have almost 9,000 employees. But again, they were like, you're going to make these assets available to us. We're taking advantage of every bit of it to be able to increase our sales and make sure that people know the HP story. Because for as much as we have made improvements and changes and done all kinds of things in supply chain and in manufacturing around this, we can't keep it a secret. We need to make sure that people know and that we help to create preference for HP by doing that. And, so we've seen partners be able to take what we give them as, kind of their starting point and then build what they think success should be out of that.
Now, you mentioned two partners from very different parts of the world, Asia and the Nordics. Um, does Amplify take into account the regional differences, what sustainability means? Because you're right, the Nordics very much are serious about um, preserving their environment, making sure that they're countering the impacts of climate change. Um, but does their expectations influence what happens regionally, or does the Amplify look at this from a global level and it's homogenous around the world?
That's a great question. So, first of all, we capture data from all of the partners so we can sort the feedback on, what are we seeing in one area versus another. Really, the biggest difference that we see is how interested they are. And as most people know, the US is probably like at the bottom of the pack on that, unfortunately. But, we're really trying to change that. But Europe is very far ahead. So we actually kind of keep track of where countries are in their, interest in moving forward. And we follow that interest. Do we make changes? Actually, no. We just make sure that we know what's going on and what might impact them. Will we get to the point where that's actually necessary? Potentially, especially because we don't know like what governments are going to drive us to. And that's really, I think, one of the things that's a nut that we have to crack is how do we keep up with what the governments are going to require so that we're really giving the best advice and input that we can to partners in those countries.
Now, you did mention the a couple of times the data that you're collecting,
Mhm.
and you know, and everyone, Mary Beth and I have known each other for a long time. You can't talk with her without having data to back up what you're saying. So is that the data though that helps you demonstrate to your corporate sustainability initiatives that the channel is contributing? Because we hear this from some other vendors, Microsoft being one of the more notable ones, that talks about its channel being a part of its total footprint, and that when they talk about carbon neutral, they're talking about their entire ecosystem being carbon neutral. How do you demonstrate that to HP that this initiative is accreting up to with its corporate goals?
Well, so I think that right now, again, because it's voluntary, we use data that they offer to us and different areas that we ask about in surveys. And so, one of the things to understand is we say it's voluntary, but we ask you to pledge. And what the pledge means is we're going to give you a bunch of stuff, but we want some things back too. And really being able to get that data to be able to substantiate just what you just said is gold to us. And so we use it to be able to show where there's certain products that might be, high runners in an area that we know it's because of sustainability and how do we lean into that. And so they provide us a lot of information about deals that they're doing, about the kinds of information they're getting in RFPs, things like that, that they know are going to assist us in creating better assets for them to use. And so that's really kind of the way that we use data to be able to look at. And some of the stats that I gave you earlier, we'd never know that unless we were asking them. They actually send us like deals, okay? Depending on whether they're 3-star, 4-star, or 5-star, they send one deal a quarter or 4 deals a quarter, but they're deals that they really can stand behind and say, we wouldn't have gotten this deal if it weren't for sustainability and HP sustainability story.
Now, you talked about the partners who said they didn't know where to start, and you helped them get started out. There are a number of companies out there that still haven't started their sustainability in at least in a channel context. Their corporate entities may be doing sustainability, but they're not yet. What advice would you give them? What would you, and also what would you change if you had to do this all over again?
Hmm. So what I would tell a partner who hasn't started is just do something. Just get started. Start small. It doesn't have to be like some big, huge thing. But given my, personal comments in the building and at the beginning here, everybody can contribute. And everybody who sits back instead of leaning in is just creating an obstacle for the rest of us who are trying to move forward. So, trying to just help them understand why it's important, being able to show them some of the statistics on how it actually can change their business. Those are the things that we'll look at to do with partners who don't seem interested or haven't shown interest or start at this point in time. What would I do different? Um, I would probably make sure that there was better coordination between the way that we were able to help companies as a company in their journey, while at the same time really getting out in front of telling the HP story is the best sustainability story around our products possible. We kind of started with the company piece because there were so few that were invested in that. And now we've moved into full speed ahead. Like all of our time is spent on the sales piece and the sales assets. And I think I might have given a little different order to that. But I think that, I wouldn't have changed the kind of assets that we created or taken a voluntary approach, given people different levels of, recognition. Those kinds of things have all really worked well for us.
Yeah. Now, you've mentioned it a couple of times, the attributions, the partners that are winning more RFPs because of sustainability. HP has released numbers over the past couple of years about the number of sales and revenue being attributed to sustainability. There are people out there who would say this isn't worth it. This is not a good use of time. This isn't a good use of investment. What do you say to them about, would you make this investment even if the revenue, attributable revenue wasn't there?
I mean, is a CEO or an executive of a company, I would have to appeal to them on a personal level if I was seeing that.
Mm,
And I don't know beyond that, what you can do. People, it's pretty black and white. People either see value or don't. And over time, even the people who we see coming along, some of them you can tell they disagree and commit, but they're starting to see that, I got to do this. Um, Somebody who doesn't believe, I would just go back to my own personal reasons for why it's so important and rely on my passion for that to be able to hopefully help them see things a different way. I don't know any other way.
yeah. Mm. Let's end on this note because I think it would be good because, like I said, you've been passionate about this for a long time. You've manifested into the Amplify Impact program. Where do you see this landing? Where do you see the impact happening over the next few years? What do you hope it does?
I hope that it allows us to make HP the leader in products around sustainability, and people know that. I think that, we are as strong in retail as we are in commercial with that message, because I believe a lot of our brand recognition starts in retail, especially with younger generations. So those are two things that I would do. And I think that really we need to look at the whole economic piece of it. Sooner or later, I'm going to have to figure out a way to put incentives into the program. And I think that that's where everybody will go. And I think that that's how people will start to use things as a competitive differentiator. What it looks like, I don't know yet, but that's where I see us going.
Excellent. Mary Beth, great talking with you. Particularly, it's always great talking with you about stuff in the channel, but this topic in particular is wonderful to hear your voice on it. So again, Mary Beth Walker, she's the head of global strategy at HP for the Amplify program. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much, Larry. Take care.
Well, that's about all the time we have for this edition of Changing Channels. Again, I want to thank Mary Beth Walker, the head of Global Channel Strategy at HP, for joining us and talking to us about sustainability and specifically the HP Amplify Impact program. And I want to thank all of you for joining in again. If you like what we're doing here, please hit like, hit subscribe, tell your friends about what we're doing here, and also check out all the great resources we have at channelnomics.com. We have a number of assets about how to make the channel a better contributor, not only to your business, but also in sustainability programs. That's about it. Until next time, I'm Larry Walsh.